Hi, Pablo. I'm really happy to see these new essays from you, so let's get straight into your corrections. Since the traditional educational schedule was implanted, there have been several changes which have modified our society. Okay, my first comment is about some of the vocabulary here. I don't think you mean schedule, and I don't think you mean implanted. I think you mean system, and I think you mean established. I think, because the way you've used these two particular words, it doesn't really help give any meaning to this. But check out what happens when you change those words. So, since the traditional educational system was established, there have been several changes which have modified our society. You don't even need all these commas here. Okay? Meanwhile, the educational system has remained constant, and consequently, some experts have encouraged society to promote an educational revolution. Whereas I strongly agree that new strategies should be taken, I do not believe the traditional method of education is harmful for students. All right, that's really clear. So well done with that. Nice. Let's take a look at what else you have to say. Okay, I can tell you straight away that there's one little issue here. Take a look at the length of your paragraphs. Look at this first body paragraph and look at this second. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because you've really gone into great deal with the first paragraph, but very little comparatively, like half as much with the second. Try to balance these as much as possible, okay? I mean, you know, you're not going to like count words or anything or count lines, but do try to make sure that you are spending an equal amount of focus on both of your main body paragraphs, okay? All right, so let's move on. To begin with, the potential modifications the system would need, it is important to consider two main aspects. The pupil's taste, your apostrophe needs to go here, and the student's skills, the same thing, the apostrophe goes right after the S. First of all, as recent research from Bradford University has shown, it is detrimental for children to have enjoyable activities in schools. Those who have entertainment in classes have displayed higher marks in exams. All right, I'm a little confused here. Here you're saying that it's detrimental, which means that it's negative. It's bad for children to have these activities. But then you say that they have higher marks. So I'm a little confused here. I think maybe you used the wrong word here. Maybe you meant something else. It is beneficial. Okay, perhaps this is what you meant. Okay, this is due to the fact that pleasure and the process of thinking are connected strongly. So when people study subjects which they like, here, so check it out, no comma, and then which they like. You don't need them, all right, because the which refers back to the word subject. So which they like, generally, they can understand the lessons better. Remember, verb, object, there should be nothing in between them, so better should go at the end. Secondly, it is well known that while some students present talents such as painting, playing a musical instrument, and singing, others display scientific skills. However, the current system does not take into account, I think is the right word here, these specific students' features. Again, with the apostrophe, it goes right after this word and not before this word. This situation leads to making harder the performance of some pupils who have great abilities in subjects such as arts, music, and history, and vice versa. I don't know what you mean by this vice versa, first of all. And second of all, again, remember you have this word harder here between your verb and your object. So you want to move harder to the very end, or not even, I don't know, it needs to go someplace else. It does not belong between those two. Okay. Thus, these two aspects should be modified if society desires to improve our children's education. Now here, you're missing an S after the apostrophe. Okay, I'm a little confused about the way you've developed this paragraph. If I remember this essay question correctly, it's the first part of the question is, are there alternatives? Okay, yeah, are there alternatives to the current model of the educational system? And you've mentioned, having enjoyable activities, and then you mention art, but it's not really clear that you are suggesting that these are alternatives, that including these activities are your ideas of alternatives. So like I said, I'm not really sure about the way you've developed this. It's just not 100% clear to me, okay? But let's move on with it. So regarding the possible harm, not harmful, the possible harm of the current system, it is a fact that the level of higher education, higher here, that most people achieve with this schedule, not really a schedule again, it really should be a system, is unquestionable. For instance, in the last 5 years, there have been significant developments in our society. Take medicine as an example of that. Tamoxil, a drug, you don't need all of this. Tamoxil, comma, a drug which can recognize tumor cells from breast cancer, you don't need this here either, is one of the most relevant inventions of the last half decade. Okay, I mean, this is why it seemed to me before that this paragraph was so short in comparison. So what are you trying to tell me here? That, I mean, there's just, you don't make the connection that you know, all of these wonderful advancements that have been made have been the result of this particular education system. And therefore, just the fact that we have so many technological and scientific developments is proof that the system is working and certainly not harmful. So do you see, all of this is missing, which is partially why it's so short. And, you know, it doesn't kind of make the link. So, all right, let's move on to this, the conclusion. In conclusion, it is true that the educational system needs some improvements, such as needs some improvements, such as more personalization towards the student's profile. I think you want something like that. However, society has been rewarded by inventors, scientists, S here, and doctors who were trained with the current curricula, and as a result, or resultantly fine, seems to be beneficial rather than harmful. Okay, that's much stronger. So here you made it really clear, but you needed to do it up here as well. Okay, now let's look at your task 1. I need to actually see it, but okay. The pie charts give some information about the destination of public money in 3 different British areas, fine, during 2014. Overall, it is clear to see that all councils spent the majority of the public budget on education and leisure activities. Lovely. In addition, whereas Yorkshire and Lancashire invested roughly the same percentage of money in the rest of the activities, Derbyshire presented more differences between each service. Okay. Regarding education and leisure, the former was the highest expense in Yorkshire at approximately a third of its budget. This figure was almost similar in Lancashire and a quarter of Derbyshire's council money. The latter was roughly equal in Derbyshire and Lancashire with around 40% of this money. Which latter? I'm confused. Ah, you mean leisure. No, I'm afraid you can't do that here. I mean, the word leisure is so far away from this sentence that you certainly can't assume that your reader knows what you're talking about. In fact, there's really specific rules about how to use the former and the latter. I would recommend looking it up in a good reference book on grammar and on writing, or even online, you could probably find it. Okay? So let's continue. Whereas the percentage of money which was invested in other activities displayed similar proportion in all regions at more or less 10%, social services and environment fluctuated between 12% and 3% and 8% to 14% respectively. Okay. Now, this sentence, first of all, is really long for task 1. There's lots of different stuff happening, and it's just not totally clear. So, first of all, I don't think you mean whereas. You're clearly looking for a different linking device here. The percentage of money which was invested, you didn't want a comma here. So the percentage of money which was invested in other activities, no comma again, displayed similar proportions S in all regions at more or less 10%. Maybe you wanted a full stop here because this is where I started getting confused. So social services and environment fluctuated between, you see, this is what really confused me. I mean, what's happening in 12 and 3 and 8 to 14 respectively? So I got kind of lost. I mean, this is the kind of thing where I absolutely need to see the graph in front of me, the chart in front of me, so I can see it. so I can understand it. Finally, Derbyshire and Yorkshire spent around 15% of their budget in community care, while this figure was around half of this proportion, okay, in Lancashire. All right, on the whole, good job. I hope that this feedback has been useful. I hope you continue to write. I hope I could see more essays from you. Don't forget to correct these and add the mistakes to your error correction list. And I really want to see more essays from you. So good luck and continue writing.